Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Mary's Real Estate Magic, the secrets to making your best real estate decision. And this morning, I want to talk about buyer costs on closing a deal. What a buyer has to bring to closing over and above their down payment. Buyer costs are a little more customized than seller costs are. Seller costs are pretty straightforward, not a lot of variation, but buyer costs depend a lot on your financing, what kind of financing, how much you're putting down. So it's a little bit more complicated. When you make a loan application, the loan officer will provide you with what's called a truth in lending statement. And the truth in lending statement will give you a worst case scenario of the breakdown of what your costs are going to be. It will include loan fees, not only just the lender fees, but really everything you need to, what we say, put the key in the door and drive off with the house. But I have a sheet that I want to share with you, so let me do that. And if you'd like a copy of this sheet, just put it in the comment box and I'd be happy to send you a copy of it. And it gives you just sort of a breakdown of the different buyer costs. Let's see, where are we here? Okay, here. Okay, buyer costs. So a couple of these costs actually are going to be paid at the time that you do them, not at the closing, but prior to closing. So the first one would be the property inspection. Let me make this full screen so it's a little easier to see. Do I have this? I guess that's the best I can do. So the property inspection, depending if you're buying a condo, it'll be a little less than if you're buying, say, a 2 or 4 unit building. 2 to 4 unit buildings, obviously there's more to inspect, so the inspection will cost more, but and a condo is a little bit more straightforward. So usually a condo is a little less and a multifamily or single family will be a little more. Closing points are something that a lender will charge you if you want to buy down the rate on a loan. Now in today's environment, most people are not buying down the rate because the rates are already so low. However, if you have a low FICO score, it may make sense to close, and it's usually stated as a percentage of the mortgage amount. So, if you're borrowing, our example, it's going to be $200,000. If you're borrowing $200,000 and that represents less than, and you want to buy down the rate on the loan, 1% closing point would be $2,000. So you give the lender $2,000 at the time of closing, and they lower your interest rate. Private mortgage insurance is something that if you put less than 20% down, the lender will require. I have a chart here that shows the FHA mortgage insurance. It's a little complicated. And again, it depends on how much you're going to put down. FHA loans, you can put as little as 3.5% down. And actually, some of that money can even be rolled back into the mortgage. There's an upfront, they call it mortgage, what do they call it? We call it PMI, they call it MIP, mortgage insurance premiums. You have to pay a fee up front, and with FHA, that fee is, their example is $200,000 times 1.75%. If you're borrowing $200,000, your upfront fee that you have to bring to closing would be $3,500. Then you have a monthly fee that you pay on top of that. And this is their chart. So if loans less than equal to, oh, greater than 15 years. Okay, so this is your standard 30-year loan. If you're borrowing less than, this is the base loan amount. So if you're borrowing $200,000 and you're putting up less than 5% down, your annual fee is 85% of the mortgage, and 85% of 200,000, using their example, would be $1,700 a year or $142 a month. So that's mortgage insurance. It's a little complicated, and as I said, when you meet with your lender and make your loan application, they will go over that and tell you what you're and help you figure out how much money you will need to bring. Prepaid interest is one of those things that why everybody always likes to close at the end of the month because mortgage payments become due always on the first of the month. So if you close on the 15th, let's say you're getting ready to close a transaction, you're going to close October 15th. Well, your mortgage payments start on the 1st. So you would have 15 days between your date of closing and the 1st. So the lender will charge you that money at the time of closing. Actually, if you close October 15th, you pay the prepaid interest. Your next payment wouldn't be due, your next mortgage payment, because mortgages are paid in arrears on December 1st. So you wouldn't have to make a November payment. The only time you pay interest in advance on a mortgage is at the closing, when you make your prepaid interest. But this is why everybody likes to close the end of the month, because the less days there are between the end of the month and the 1st, the less prepaid interest you have to pay. An application and appraisal fee is another fee that is charged at the time that you do it. It's usually about $400 or $500, and it includes the appraisal. Just a note about appraisals. Appraisals protect the lender, they don't protect you, but indirectly end up protecting you, because what the lender is trying to ascertain is that if they are giving you 95% of the money to buy the property, in fact, they only have 95% exposure in that property. But, it also protects you indirectly. Document preparation to record your mortgage against the deed. It's about $150. It's minimal. In Chicago, if you buy a property in the city of Chicago, you have to pay what's called transfer stamps. It's a sales tax, and it's $7.50 per thousand of purchase price. So on a $200,000 purchase, which is the example we're using, it would be $1,500. So it's a significant chunk of change that you would need to bring to closing. The lender will require that you have title insurance that protects them, puts them on title essentially, and says if they have a lien against your property, that's $700. And in Chicago and Illinois in general, I think we use attorneys. The seller is required to actually have an attorney. But as I say, you don't want to bring a knife to a gun battle, so you also want to have your own attorney. And it's usually about $500 to $1,000. Or if you use, if you have a contact at a large downtown law firm, they may charge you an hourly rate. But that would be something you'd want to discuss with your attorney. And then finally, a tax reserve fund. So when you have a mortgage, your mortgage consists not only of your principal and interest to pay off the loan, it also includes your real estate taxes and your homeowner's insurance. The lender wants to make sure that the real estate taxes are paid, because the tax lien actually takes precedence over a mortgage. And so they will collect money from you every month to pay, and when the tax bill comes out, the bank actually pays it. The money goes into an escrow account. So your monthly mortgage payment is your principal and interest, your monthly property taxes, and your monthly homeowner's insurance. When the property taxes and the homeowner's insurance comes out, when those bills come out, the lender actually pays those bills for you. They want to know that those bills have been paid. So they will set up an escrow account, and they will figure out, depending on how much time you have to accumulate funds to pay that bill, how much money to put into escrow for you. Same thing with the homeowner's insurance. You're required to come to closing with a paid homeowner's insurance policy. And then that's usually about $600 or so. It sort of depends. You'd have to talk to your insurance broker. But you need to come to closing with a paid insurance policy. And then the lender will take 1/12 of that amount and add it to your monthly mortgage payment. And next year, when the policy becomes due, the lender pays the bill for you. And then finally, just a little note: when you come to closing, it has to be either a cashier's check or a certified check. They don't take personal checks. You have to essentially bring cash, but they don't take cash anymore. So you have to come with a cashier's check. You have to go to the bank, get a cashier's check, and bring it to closing. If it's over, I think it's $50,000, you have to have the money wired to the title company. And most people just typically wire the money. It's just easier. And the only caveat about wiring is you want to make sure that you verified the wire instructions by phone. There's been a lot of email scams where scammers have been misdirecting the funds into their own account rather than to the title company. So you want to be sure to call the title company, make sure that the wire instructions that you received were correct. So that's it. As I said, there's a lot more variation. It's hard to just come up with a rule of thumb, how much you're going to need, but like I said, I'm happy to send you this checklist. You can sit down and sort of do the math on your own. And when you sit down with a loan officer and make a loan application, they will go through this. They're required to actually go through this and tell you what the fees are. So that's my tip for this morning. I just want to close with a final thought, and that is my alma mater, Roosevelt University, is hosting this week virtually and free to the public. Of course, everything's virtual today. Something called the American Dream, and the first session is today at 12:30. You have to go and register, but it is free and open to the public. Today they're talking about a lot of social justice issues. Tomorrow is Black women and the right to vote. They're doing a whole thing. It's 75 years since Roosevelt's founding. Wednesday is a book study. Luis Alberto Urrea, who is a professor of literature at Chicago Circle Campus, U of I. And then Thursday, we have Lori Lightfoot is talking. She's our keynote speaker. So that'll be at 2 o'clock on Thursday. So if it's something that sounds interesting, I want to encourage you to attend. And just a little promotion for my alma mater, who does, I think, really wonderful things. So that's it. Have a great week, and we will see you next week, hopefully. Have a great day. Bye-bye.